So,
Great.
we're here.
Yes.
Xerox Park. I mean, this is a historic visit for me. I've
great.
lived here in the Valley for 35 years.
First time here.
So, who are you?
I'm Sophie Vandebroek, and I am Chief Technology Officer of Xerox.
Wow.
And also President of the Xerox Innovation Group, which means that the research centers around the world are part of the organization I'm part of, or I lead, yes.
Yeah. And we've gone through a little bit of the tech fair, and I've seen some of the stuff. How much of what you're working on is actually represented here in the tech fair today?
Oh, it's only a little bit of what we're working on.
I would expect.
We have researchers around the world, but of course we're showing the projects today that give you a good cross-section of the diversity of work or research we do, and that we believe are, and secondly, are new projects that we're showing. And thirdly, that we believe are very critical and aligned with the future of the Xerox business as well as the future of the world.
Yeah. When I grew up, Xerox was a copier company, right? I mean,
we no longer make copiers.
Which is funny, isn't it? You start out as one company and now you've completely, the reason we're doing the interview out here is to talk about some of the work you're doing in solar and clean tech and biomedical and also
water, clean water.
Wow.
Did you see the project?
No, not yet. I've gotten to about two-thirds of
the clean tech one.
The sessions.
Yeah.
Give me a sense of what your days, well, tell me first of all what your background is. How did you get to Xerox, and how long have you been at Xerox?
Yeah, so I originally grew up in Belgium, and then came to the United States to get my PhD degree, because and then really stayed in the US, right? I was one of these foreign scientists who immigrated to the US because this was really the country of opportunity, of innovation, of entrepreneurship, and so. One of the things I'm really passionate about is to make sure that the US remains a country where people from around the world are going to want to come to create new ideas and new businesses and to innovate. That's a whole different discussion.
We'll have a little bit of that.
We can have a little bit of that because it is so important.
I've been touring the world studying that, so I'm a little
right,
passionate about it as well.
Yes, so we both are. But then I after my PhD, I went to work at IBM Research Labs in Yorktown Heights, but managing a family and working in my job was 7 hours from where I lived. So we lived in upstate New York, where I then joined Xerox. And I joined Xerox because I know, in addition to IBM Research, they were one of the few companies with a great research lab. So of course I'd heard of Xerox Park. And that's the reason I went to work for Xerox in the research center in Rochester, New York, because that's where my family situation demanded that I was. But Xerox has research labs around the world. So in addition to working in the Rochester-based centers where we do all of our systems engineering, imaging, control systems, I also had the privilege to be the director of the research center in Canada, where we do a lot of the work in chemistry, materials, and in fact the reusable paper project you see here today, the transient document project, is a collaboration between that center and the Palo Alto Research Center. Being originally from Europe, I'm happy to say we also have a research center in Grenoble, France, where the whole core focus is to differentiate the services business that Xerox leads through innovating and through inventions in the area of smart document technologies, and you see a lot of that here today. We also have a strong joint venture partner, Fuji Xerox. It has been in existence since 1962. And Fuji Xerox has two research centers. One here right next door, FX Palo Alto Labs, and they are here today showing some of the environmentally friendly technologies, the biomass plastic they're working on.
That plastic is pretty cool because it's 30% made out of corn, right? Or corn products, biomass.
Yes. Corn and other biomass, hopefully. And they also have a research center in Tokyo. And then, of course, we have recently had several acquisitions, including XMPi, where the engineers and researchers are located in Israel. And then a couple other acquisitions in the services space that we are supporting with some of the smart document technologies you see here. So in my job, I always say I have the most amazing job in the world, because not only do I get to work with really creative and smart people within Xerox as well as our partners worldwide, but we also get to envision and create the future today.
Yep.
Because I always say, unless somebody is creating the future today, it just won't exist.
Yeah.
Because many of the technologies you see today take 3, 5, 10, sometimes 15 years to make it to market. So somebody must be creating the future.
And explain what Palo Alto Research Center, the park.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've been in this industry even for 15 minutes, you've heard about PARC,
of
right?
course.
Because almost everything we use on our computer came out of this building.
That's right. So the initial ideas and early concepts. So
tell me some of the things that were developed here back in the
late
70s or 80s.
Actually, in the late 60s, early 70s, there were early concepts of the laptop computer, the PC, the Ethernet was invented here, which of course is the core of the internet and the web. The early concept of Microsoft Word, what turned into Microsoft Word, the inventor.
Charles Simonyi was here.
Yes, he was here before he went on to go work at Microsoft. The laser printer, of course, which is now $100 billion.
PostScript.
PostScript. I mean,
which started Adobe.
That's right.
3Com started out of here. Adobe started out of here.
40 spin-off companies in the last 25 years were created, most of them out of PARC, but 40 in Xerox overall. Wow. So a lot of heritage of innovation in this building and across the research centers that Xerox has worldwide. And if you meet many of the leaders in the innovation group, I mean, we are committed to have a future of innovation. In fact, we get 10 patents issued to us each and every week.
Wow.
In our history, we've had 55,000 patents worldwide, and I mean, and people keep thinking of new ideas. And but the one big change, I believe, that I've observed, actually two changes, but a major big one in the last 5 to 10 years, is the focus on the customer. I mean,
now, who is your customer? Because 20 years ago it was a copier customer, right? I bought one for my store. Right?
That's right. That's right.
And now you don't even make copiers. So who is your customer today, and who do you think your customer is going to be tomorrow? Because
you're my customer. I mean, reporters are my customer. Lawyers, healthcare providers, admission officers in universities. I mean, anyone dealing with document-intensive business processes, right? I mean, if you go into a doctor's office today, how often does it happen to you that they ask you to fill out the same form year after year? Or a mortgage company, if you close on your house, I mean, how many documents do you have to physically sign, right? Or a lawyer when
60
he or
or so.
she, whatever, when he or she is doing her case or his case, they go through millions of documents for a single case, and they are so document intensive. Do you find it ironic that some of the reasons that Xerox back in the 70s didn't get the new computer because they thought it was going to be killing the copier business, and now our computers generate more paper than ever? That's exactly right.
They shouldn't have been scared of it. They should have embraced this world, right?
In 1975, the head of this center was envisioning, of course, a laptop or a PC on every desktop, where people could easily get access to email, etc. And in fact, 15 years later, it became real. But they were also talking about the office of the future, which would be the paperless office, right? But in fact, I mean, paper has continued to explode worldwide. And since the emergence of email, people print 40% more. But what we do notice, though, is that almost half of, in a typical enterprise, our anthropologists went to live with many of our customers. Our customer is always an end customer, of course, of whoever buys a service from Xerox or a product. So our anthropologists went to live with them, and they in fact noticed that yes, while people print a lot, most of it is thrown out in the recycling bin, or worse, in the garbage, right? By the within 24 to 36 hours. So then it is our job to find more environmentally friendly ways of creating what we call reusable or transient paper that you can reuse over and over again. And that's just one example of a project where where we're looking at creating much more sustainable solutions, because it's so critical for.
And we got to look at that paper. It's pretty interesting. So it uses UV light to imprint an image on the paper, and the image goes away after a few hours, right? After maybe a day, it starts disappearing.
It's self-erasing. Yes.
That's pretty crazy.
It could either disappear, or you can have an erase-on-demand version of it.
Okay.
So we're actually talking and dreaming with many of our customers. They said, I don't want it to go away by itself, right? I have to have control over when it fades.
Yeah.
So we're looking at a whole array of options of how to commercialize it, what to do with it. But I think that's one. So in addition to the services business and all the smart document technologies that help our customers deal with their document-intensive business processes, and a lot of the research portfolio is invested in that. I think the other areas are related to mass customization.
Yep.
For example, you saw the 3D packaging,
yep.
the 3D greeting cards, personalized calendars. Now you can affordably print a book if you still wanted to print a book. You can,
and a lot of people do. Right?
And a lot of people do. Oh, yeah. A whole lot of people do.
In fact, you know, even in my world, the Twitter world, somebody in Amsterdam showed me his book of all of his Twitter messages. He printed them all out and put them in a book, and I'm like, this is wrong.
That's right. It is something. I mean, it's a whole industry that's taken off. And in fact, if you print books on demand, right? If you print only and exactly the copies you need and no more, it is a much more environmentally friendly solution than printing thousands of copies on a book somewhere in the Far East, shipping them to the Western world, having them sit in harbors, and often having them thrown out because they were never used, right?
Well,
I mean, it's very bad.
I know a photographer, Rick Smolin, who does these day in the life books.
Oh, yes,
and
yes.
he lets you custom print just the cover, so you can put your kid's photo on the cover of the book, you know, and
that's
keep it on your coffee, because a lot of his books are coffee table kinds of books.
Yes,
so
that's right.
when your friends come over, hey, how did you get your son's picture on the book? You know, it's pretty cool.
But many of our customers, especially the ones using the iGen 3 digital production press, which is the fastest in the world cut sheet color digital press, and it is being used for coffee table books and a whole different array of. I mean, my mom is a poet, and for the first time in her life, she could actually print out her poems with her bio on the back and one of her paintings on the front, and give all of her kids and grandchildren a book for Christmas. Right? This could be completely unimaginable and unaffordable in the past. So it creates lots of opportunities. In fact, the offset market today, which prints most of the magazines, newspapers, books, packaging, etc., is labels, is a $400 billion market.
Yep.
And so through many of the technologies, if you can digitize this market today, even the technologies you see today that are on the market today, only about 17 billion out of the 14 billion is eligible for digital. And so in the research labs, we're looking at how can we really enable much more of this to become digital. So ultimately when people print it, they're actually going to use it and not just throw it away and be bad for the environment.
Yeah.
So that is a huge opportunity.
Let's talk about, since we're out here in the sun.
Oh, right, that's cool.
Solar energy.
It should be working very well now.
Yeah. Now, what is Xerox doing getting in the solar energy business? I got a sense of why you're doing that, but tell me a little bit about why Xerox is excited about solar and the clean tech world.
So in the two elements to this answer. I mean, Xerox overall, we have a history of providing sustainable solutions and remanufacturing and reuse, etc., in the conventional business, right?
Yeah.
And so we are very committed that if opportunities arise in clean tech, whether it's solar or water, I mean this whole area, to support it by applying our competency and our core competency that we have created over the years into these areas.
Yep. And
so one of the reasons we can in fact do that is because the Palo Alto Research Center became incorporated in 2002. So in 2002, 100% of the revenue or the funding, at this time it was only funding, now we call it revenue, of PARC came from Xerox. Today it's about 50%.
Okay.
So half the revenue comes from sources outside Xerox. I mean, other clients, equity, intellectual property licensing, etc.
Okay.
The government. And so by having PARC set up this way, when you hire extremely smart people who are very creative, not only will they be able to apply their core competency for the future of Xerox. I mean, some of the core competencies that are being applied in this working together with so focused startup company are also the same key experts in mechanical engineering, optical engineering, computer science, etc., are providing the next generation of imaging and systems for Xerox. So these people can apply their creative interest into providing a whole bunch of solutions, and so we're really excited to be able to support clean tech in the broad way as we
for this though, the silicon, the chips you're building, Xerox has a lot of expertise on laying imagery down on something, right?
That's right, that's right.
Paper in the old days, right? And now, now silicon. And you're able to, the engineers were showing me that they can lay down metal in a narrower way, which blocks less of the sunlight, right? And it's more, it's cheaper to produce.
That's right. So it is leveraging our core competency in printing that you can actually put very narrow lines. It's actually the grid lines the scientists were talking about to you about. We have a couple projects. Can put in very narrow lines with more light, indeed, get caught by the silicon and create more power. Yeah. Which is really fantastic.
Yeah, and they're using mirrors to focus the light on those new chips. Pretty interesting device. What else I mean, you're into so many interesting things. Tell me a little bit about the biotech that you're using here, that you're developing here.
In addition to applying the core competency to clean tech, several of our researchers are also looking at ways of applying their core competency to the biotechnology field. For example, leveraging some of our scientists who also have a demo here, we're able to detect rare cancer cells in blood. So that actually overall the speed with which you can detect whether or not somebody has cancer, the accuracy has increased by a factor of 1,000. Wow. It's still a research project. It's a collaboration with the Scripps Institute in the Valley. You know Scripps Institute? So a set of researchers or scientists and engineers go together with the physicians and truly understand what are some of the challenges. Similar to how
how did Xerox get into that? You know, how did the, tell me about the process that did somebody wake up in the morning and go, hey, I want to find a new cure for cancer or something? You know,
I think we hire such passionate researchers who have their dreams indeed to make an impact to human health or to make an impact to the environment. And so again, in addition to the core competency that they have built over the years, because in fact the researcher collaborating with the Scripps Institute has been here for quite some time. And so he really, I believe he had relationships with people in the Scripps Institute, and together they found that by applying some of our capabilities to the way they measure and they diagnose cancer, the whole diagnosis could be sped up significantly. And so we encourage people to reach out and do these kind of programs, because again, by doing that work, you keep building the core competency, and then you can ultimately also apply it either in Xerox's business or to support some other startup companies or to license the IP and really make sure it ends up in a commercial product. This particular one has to ultimately end up in a commercial product, which of course would be good for the world and good for Park.
To wrap it up, what's your day like? How do you...
Fun.
Well, yeah, I know you're on an airplane a lot. You told me that already. But tell me a little bit about how you interact. And do you do a lot of hiring? You know, tell me a little bit about what you do in your daily work here.
So I think to me the most important thing is people, right? I mean, making sure whether it's your direct team, whether it's the researchers, making sure whether it's your open innovation partners, so I spend a lot of my personal time interviewing. For example, my main office is in Webster, but I do I spend time at the other centers, and I spend a lot of time with customers. I mean, one of the things that I require each and every researcher to do is to have dreaming sessions with the customers. And I call it a dreaming session, which is I really need to understand your pain points. And if you had more time, I would love to do a dreaming session with you, saying, okay, what is it that makes it difficult for you to do your work? I mean, finding just these clips that you might need, or I don't know how you do it, but truly listening.
Well, certainly dealing with the size of the files and dealing with the
files,
uploads.
Right, uploads. I mean, understanding what is it, and then looking at what do we have in our portfolio, what projects are we doing, and how can some of the technologies you're working on make a difference in your life and create really a solution that works for you, because if it works for you, you're gonna wanna buy it from us, right?
Yep.
So that's, every researcher has to have these dreaming sessions, and I have many examples, including, if you can ask Paul Smith from Canada with reusable paper, our initial concepts of what that would do are very different than what we're thinking now, thanks to dreaming with the customers. And
I like that, dreaming with the customers.
And it's also built on the quote from Henry Ford, who says, if I had asked the customer what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. So of course, I ask customers what they want, and often it is, of course, lower cost, higher quality, higher speed, and we do all of that. But in addition, understanding the pain points, not necessarily just asking, but listening, sending our anthropologists or the work practice specialists on site to truly see how do you do what you do, right? Having somebody shadow you for a week, and then truly come up and create. And then share with the customers the technologies we're working on, and together start dreaming. So what about if you had intelligent redaction or automatic categorization or some of these smart document technologies? How could that make a difference to you? And it's amazing the kind of learning that goes to the researchers and how that impacts our portfolio, but also often the customers really love it. Unfortunately, often then they have to wait quite a while to get the research project into a commercial product, especially if it's hardware or system. If it's a smart document technology, it normally moves very fast.
Very cool.
Okay,
well, thank you for a little bit of your
much.
time. This has been a lot of fun.
It's my pleasure.